Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Metaverse Nomads podcast, where we talk about the play to earn games that we are interested in. Collectively, the Metaverse Nomads lead the gaming guild Rome. And joining me today are my fellow nomads. Jesse, how are you doing today?
I am well. Glad to be here.
Very good. Ray, how are you doing today? You're on mute, my friend.
I must say I'm doing great. Back from Puerto Rico, had a nice vacation there, and back in New York. And so much has happened in the last week, but glad to be here, catch up, and get to it.
Is your shirt? Is that mind blown? Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's the atomic bomb going off, but it's a brain.
Yeah.
Cool. So how did you find a place? Can we expect you to be broadcasting from Puerto Rico in the near future?
Yeah. So my wife and I were going over modeling what our house is going to look like, and I'm acquiring land, and it's in the mountains, and that's pretty exciting. Adventure to be on. Yeah, and then we're gonna do all that. So we're gonna talk with a lawyer, an accountant, all that jazz, and then we'll probably be there within a couple of months. I'm not sure yet.
Wow. So is there enough room for all of us?
That's yes, we're definitely gonna have our meetings, without a doubt. That was the first thing. We're making it so we're gonna have 3 bedrooms. So on the off seasons of us not being there, half of the year, if we decide not to be there, we could do Airbnb or do some stuff. So lots of stuff in the works.
Rome B&B.
Pretty much.
Yeah, Rome B&B. I love the idea. And back joining us after a few weeks off is Bonafide. How you doing, man?
Hey, good morning, everybody. I think we're all going to make it.
I think we're all going to make it. Fancy, how are you doing today?
Great. Yeah, I love it when we have a lot of stuff lined up. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, today we have several updates on a number of different games. But first, I think we're going to start with some Metaverse news. Fancy, why don't we kick it off?
Yeah, so there has been like a couple news articles about Zuckerberg planning to make Instagram in an NFT marketplace that might involve like Facebook as well. But it's just a report from several anonymous people. So take from that what you will. But it is interesting.
Were there any details?
It was a paywalled article, so I didn't get in.
So the first thing that comes to mind for me is that the immediate perceived value across social media for an NFT is obviously going to be a profile picture. So if they do that and it is an NFT, what chain are they going to use? Are they going to use their own? I mean, Libra was scrapped. I think that met with a lot of resistance right around the time they had some privacy issues. So they lost that. So what will they use? I mean, chances are they're probably, are they going to try again to create their own chain? And if so, then I would imagine that any NFTs that show up in that space are probably going to be a lot lower priced. Just to make it more accessible. So it'll be interesting to see how it's perceived there. I mean, the upside in my view of it, not that I think there's a long-term success there, but it would be an accessible on-ramp for masses to get them familiar with the concept of NFTs and blockchain. And then from there, it opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, Twitter did their NFT thing too, and I still don't quite understand what it is. So these social platforms are starting to get, with the music on NFTs. There's no doubt about it. Well, I do agree, though. I think one of the major social channels driving NFTs is really going to drive the market. So I'm not a big fan of Instagram in general, but I love the idea that they're getting involved here.
Yeah. What Twitter did that was really important was they allowed you to basically connect your wallet to your profile so that your NFT presence is basically verified there on Twitter. So if Instagram is to pick up a similar model, I could see it being very successful. What I worry about from the Facebook perspective is that they wouldn't be as open and decentralized necessarily. And so then you might be buying NFTs on Instagram that you can't move into another situation, which obviously would be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing with Twitter, though, also with their model, it has some holes in it because the idea is, yes, you can verify a PFP with your wallet, but I could go and make a duplicate of Bored Ape and mint it myself and put it in my wallet. And that's all it's doing is verifying that the NFT is in my wallet. It's not verifying that it's an authentic NFT from a collection thus far. Maybe that's something they'll do later, but as I understand it now, it doesn't go that far.
That's a good point.
You're talking about the Twitter version or the
Yes.
really? Okay.
I think the other thing that I struggle with anything that Facebook is involved is you become the commodity. So how are they going to leverage your data around your NFTs to suit their own financial means? You know, I always struggle with Facebook because everything, every period you type is driving revenue for them somewhere else.
Well, that's the monetization model of all social networks. So then the question becomes is like, if you are a social network that is now looking to make a transition to stay relevant, how do you look for a model that may move you away from that? And maybe that is a move, because at some point, like we've already seen with Facebook, the reason their numbers have gone down is they've reached threshold. They literally shot from the moon from 2004 until recent times, a third of the entire planet on their platform. That's a lot. But then after a while, you run out of people. So they can't keep scaling at that progression. And we just saw them top out. And now they're starting to lose money because even people that made a living on Facebook, like myself for quite some time, I don't even use the platform anymore that much.
And they're also using generationally, they're losing as well, right? They don't have the young crowd anymore. They're moving on to other products. And, you know, my children, or my son at least, calls it kind of the old person social media platform.
It is. By age, it goes down from Facebook to Instagram to now to TikTok. So
yeah, TikTok is fun. I spend way too much time on TikTok. I don't do any of my own content there, but there's some funny people in the world, man. That's awesome.
And you notice it's a progression of attention span. Like, how quick do you have to grab someone's attention each one? The younger generation's like, show it to me now.
Yeah, gotta have it.
Don't take up much of my time.
The deterioration of society's ability to focus.
Quotable.
Fancy, what else you got, man?
So another interesting thing was this video from the Bored Ape Yacht Club.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to mute the video before it starts to play copyright. But yeah, it's real fun. Found it on Twitter.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting to show it and then cover it. It was just like record breaking as far as the amount of money anyone made from initial mint up until the airdrop, with all of the different types of NFTs that came from it.
Wasn't original mint $190?
It was 200 and 0.08 at the time, which was like 200 and what was it, $210 or something like that.
Oh man,
so
that's amazing.
Yeah, people were go ahead, Fans.
They did a bigger drop of their coin to their NFT holders, and some people made a lot of money cashing in.
So is that coin going to be for this metaverse that they're advertising here? Is that what the purpose is?
Yeah, pretty much. So there's going to be a land sale, but Yuga Labs was created, and it was Meebits and CryptoPunks that was purchased by Yuga Labs, who were the creators of Bored Apes. So this was the first largest acquisition or merger, or however, not necessarily merger, but they purchased all of the assets that were on reserve that both the Meebits and CryptoPunks have had in their treasury. So it wasn't just they swept the floor. They actually acquired the whole of what the assets were that they were holding previously before they were bought out. And it was one of the only. This is the first and largest acquisition of within Web3, not like a Adidas coming in or a Nike. So it was a milestone.
I think that Bored Ape is worthy of a documentary, and the reason I say that is because I want to know like more of the story. Like there's obviously always an element of right place, right time, and then there's the question of how do you leverage that to take the most advantage of it. I keep saying that Axie's kind of in that place where a lot of their success was right place, right time, not necessarily completely planned out. But then when you fall upon that good fortune, what do you do with it? I'm curious to know with Bored Ape, like the mindset, the people that put it together, how far forward were they thinking? How much of this was right place, right time? How much of it was strategic planning and, and innovation? So I'm really curious at some point to see how this whole story played out.
Yeah, just for the record, I posted up a article from the yugalabs.io, and it gives you a timeline of exactly what happened since the inception of the mint in 2017. Even before that, with the founders and the people on the team. So they might pull from this one that movie's created.
So is the whole idea is they're bringing these multiple NFT projects into one metaverse? Is what we saw the actual metaverse, or is that just creative ideas, and what we're actually going to get is something different?
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you because that's how early it is for them. I think this is just more promotional type of spread the word type of video, and it's an introduction to what people are going to probably have to get used to, which is some high top quality marketing videos and things of that nature. But who knows what it's going to look like ultimately. But if you want any exposure to it, I guess ApeCoin is that way now if you were priced out with NFTs.
Yeah. What's the cost on ApeCoin right now?
I think it's 11. Oh yeah, that's a whole other topic to talk about. It came out just falling off a cliff because you can imagine people
sold out.
For sure. The most money they've ever seen in their lives off of any NFT project. So I think it's like $11 right now, hovering around 11. Yep. And but the highs.
Go ahead. I was going to say other metaverse $10. Coins have held some value. I mean, if you think about Decentraland and Sandbox. Go ahead, Jesse.
I would say, speaking of the tokens coming out the gate, I'm really curious to see once there is liquidity for Materium, which we'll be talking about a little bit later from Gala, one of the most anticipated games in the space, Mirandus. I'm curious what the perceived value is going to be driving price for that as it comes out. The only thing you can buy with it right now is this ancient lantern. But I'm curious to see what that token will do.
What's interesting about this project is we all know it's a project that attracts money and prestige, right? So a lot of celebrities, a lot of famous people are buying these as some sort of statement. And then you have the people who bought in and got really lucky on the right project. But it seems like they have the clout to attract the right developers to do just about whatever they want, right? Because it's the one project that everyone seems to know about.
Well, I don't think they're
NFT space.
It's not just that they can attract a lot of great developers. I think a lot of great developers are early adopters of these NFT projects. So that's one of the things that we don't get to talk about a lot because we've been coming from a gaming perspective. But from the PFP side of things, you got the Cyber Kongs, you got the Bored Apes, and you got Neo Tokyo. And all of these communities have been attracting very high clout level people across the Web3 space as well as developers. And they're all putting out projects. And so we're seeing an evolution from the PFP side of things. They're coming towards gaming as well. And then you have the gamers going towards the PFP side of things. It's kind of an interesting mix.
Well, I hope this, sorry, Jesse, I hope this leads to continued standardization within the NFT space, right? Because this new project that they're working on looks like it's a cross NFT project that you can bring any NFT into. And that's going to need some sort of standardization between projects, so they all interface and work together. Sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
Yeah, when I think of Bored Ape, I think of a cool club and exclusivity. When you think of I don't think when Chappelle spent 3 and some change on his. He was not thinking, well, I can't wait till they have Metaverse so I can jump in and play. That's not the reason that a lot of these big names end up going that route. So are the projects and things that Bored Ape now is putting into play, is that to raise the coolness factor? Is that to compensate the existing NFT holders? Is that to try and reach out and provide something of value to a new audience in a different market? What is the actual goal and intention behind the expansion?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of talk on Twitter when the token dropped of how they have enough money. It's always these people, these companies, these groups who create these NFT projects, they have enough money to do what they're planning to do already without needing to sell land, without needing to even come up with a token, just based off of the money generation of secondary sales plus the initial sale of NFTs. So, it just like with any other project, Axie, Gala Games, you got those diehards that are going to believe anything no matter what and invest as much and afford and potentially lose it. Not across any of the games I just mentioned, but it's not financial advice here. But I think that for what they're trying to build, it is very ambitious. I don't know what the exact amount of money is needing to be spent to do any of, or to accomplish any of this, but you have people from both sides of not wanting to support it because of the way they're going about raking in money, and people are saying they're extracting value from the NFT space because they weren't necessarily coming out providing that much value. They were just another NFT project. So until the values are spoken of from the actual team, I would like to know more of these individuals and hear them speak like we do in some type of long form or over a course of time where their intentions. But hey, at this point, as long as people are making it's sad, as long as they made money and people are making money and 80% of people are making money, you got those others who are just going to be straggling along trying to make it, thinking they're also going to be part of that. So
I think part of the challenge is, a lot of people compare these projects to Ponzi's because the money goes in and then you need to continuously add more money. So whether they have some system with this project where they're going to, create a game out of it, which is what it kind of, either a social space or a game is what I'm taking away from that. But that's, I think, what a lot of projects are up against. How do you either capture the money and keep it when it comes in, or how do you keep people from extracting value out of the project at a higher rate than what you're bringing money in? Because at some point it's going to flip and you're going to go red in a lot of different ways.
That's a key point, Banjo. I think we're kind of witnessing just simple evolution of the metaverse, right? So you had a lot of people who had a lot of ETH and didn't have anything they could really do with it. And then they started playing around with these PFPs, these NFTs, and it was something to do, right? And then these NFTs, these PFPs started evolving, like the apes. You can mutate them into different PFPs. And then you had like little games like Web3 come out where now you can have your NFT walking through a city and living in a house, right? And now Bored Ape is adding the next layer of evolution onto that, where they're basically doing a very similar thing to what Web3 did, where they're going to allow people to bring their NFTs into their ecosystem. And so we're just watching the metaverse evolve, and so games are being developed on the other side, and these guys are moving towards games as well. It's really interesting.
Do we think that the value there of what Bored Ape is, and the reason that there really can't be a whole lot of other Bored Apes, there's no way to reproduce it simply because of the nostalgia? Like when people think in terms of NFT, it was kind of the first that reached that cool club status like that. You do have some others for sure, but this is the one that people seem to think about first. Is there a way to duplicate that, or is nostalgia the driving factor that makes them what they are?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ray.
No, I was going to say that it's like for CryptoPunks, the project they acquired, they were known to not allow anyone to use their IP, either for logos, to generate money, hats, T-shirts, even a franchise. But soon after all of that happened with the acquisition, they allowed people to have that ability to do that. So now there's going to be more innovation from. So I guess to answer the question is it depends, because at some point all roads kind of lead to one, and the way, like Bonafide was saying, we're growing and evolving in a space where decentralization is what everyone is going to want. They're going to want to be able to buy something and use it any way they want, and depending on how the project starts, it will last the test of time. It's like your first impressions on a date or for a job interview. It goes a long way. So depending on what they do now and into the future, it could hurt that first impression, but so far so good, apparently.
I think that's an excellent point, Ray. I was going to say something similar. So to go back to what you were saying, Jesse, it's like CryptoPunks and that rock NFT, that's nostalgia, right? Those are the first movers. Bored Ape, to me, and I think probably to a lot of people, when you look at the level of the amount of rappers and celebrities involved, I think Bored Ape is the cooler factor, right? They're the cooler one. And why are they cooler? Well, like Ray said, they're more open source. They're more decentralized in a way, right? And so I think that's a lesson to be learned for all the projects out there is, the more open source you are. I mean, Microsoft learned it way back in the day, right? The more open source you are, the more decentralized you are, the stronger you're going to end up being. That's why Bitcoin's where it's at.
I think it will be interesting to see over time, and trends change, fads change. Will Bored Ape be a Rolex and stand the test of time and always have value, or is it just the next Swatch, right? And we wait until the next for people who even know what a swatch is. But or is it the next thing until something cooler comes out? I don't think I think it's too early to tell.
Right.
Absolutely.
Is anyone, 20 years from now looking back and saying, man, that Bored Ape, it's pretty cool to have one around now, or is it like a floppy disk? Who's to say?
See, but people were saying that just months ago. So it's almost like people are catching up to that last phase of how people perceived any particular project who's been around or who's made major success. So like I've witnessed this through the cycles of also just the crypto markets, the ebbs and flows of the booms and the busts. So even now, if anything, I was never involved and got invested into apes, but I probably will now based off of the same questions that I might have had that you're sharing now, Jess, about the project, as it's more in the limelight in people's attention versus any other project they had. But I didn't care to have one of the NFTs. My attention was elsewhere. But now I don't see them going anywhere, whether you like them or not. Gala, whether you like them or not. Axie, whether you like them or not. Like the majority, 80+% of the population would have to revolt. It's like an actual country and its people, right? Unless everyone is just going to take action, vote with their dollars and basically cripple the project financially. The coffer's already set to the max. The attention is there from other developers, other games, TVs. They're going to do a whole slot of things.
So what you suggest there is interesting then. So then that raises two questions for me. What is the sustainable driving factor behind any of these projects? Is it the will of the people and their perception of the project? Because we know if that is the driving force that keeps it there and keeps it propped up, that can change. And so is there something else, or do they reach a certain threshold? Like you're saying, the coffers are full and they've got enough, coins in the piggy bank to be able to sustain the road from there.
So cultural relevancy is important. Obviously, TikTok, you're not going to make it unless you're on the trends of everything that's happening. Innovation is another thing that I think about. What are they doing different that stands out from every other project? And then, it's those major threes. Like if you have the money, the time, or the energy, you can't have all three at all times. So there's going to be moments in time where money is there, right? The time, I guess, if anything, they probably have more of the three than any other project at this time, to just build it out to be something more innovative now than it was just before an NFT project, right? So I guess everyone who's building something that catches on, they need to run with it far enough, not to shaft any people that invested early, but to reward them and then take everyone with you up that mountain to the promised land of sorts. But
I think you. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but as for every winner, there's a loser, right? So somebody sold and unfortunately lost that potential. But go ahead, Bon.
Well, I was just going to say, I think you hit it on the head when you said innovation, Ray. That kind of goes back to what you were saying, Jesse, earlier, as far as is this metaverse that they're building, was that the original point, or was it something that's just kind of happening because they've been so successful? So in order for you to stay relevant right now and stay culturally popular right now, you have to innovate. That's why that's why Bored Ape is more popular right now than CryptoPunk, is based off the innovation. So, I think the question that is overreaching, I think this is what you're alluding to, is when is it going to be about sustainability? Because right now, innovation is a sustainability, but eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to start failing as far as iteration goes. So then you're going to have something that's solid as far as a foundation that will sustain the project into the future.
And we see that with a lot of projects. I mean, even like Star Atlas is an interesting example, because at some point after you tail off from the hype and things that are supporting the project to really get it out of the atmosphere, at some point you have to roll up the sleeves and start building out all the promise. And during that phase, it's sometimes hard to sustain the momentum of enthusiasm, especially due to market conditions and all kinds of other things, while you're actually in the weeds doing the work to create the thing that you promised in the first place. Especially on projects that have a long vision.
Right.
And a rabid fan base that requires constant upkeep.
Right.
Yeah. And I think I speak for all of us here, which I don't necessarily do all the time, but we look for that, or those types of projects, those types of teams, as a guild that goes by the name of Roan, if you're just coming in today. And so we are here for the long haul too. And it's up to us as a community, being early in any of these projects, to help influence the people coming in, so they also understand what's happening. So the education side of things is what a lot of projects have always or now are paying more attention to, because that's how the retention levels of the project stay, right? And also the fun factor, right? We're typically forgetting and hardly ever talking about how fun a game is going to be, because everyone's caught up in how you can get rich and to retire early, or never need to work a job, or whatever the goals might be, but it's around financials. But if the game is going to be fun, then whether you make more money in the other project or this one, you might stay with the one that's more fun, making less but still enough to satisfy you as an individual.
We don't talk too much about the fun factor because there's not a ton of fun to be had right now. But won't it be interesting, though? You've been with the project, you've been a part of it, you've been in the community for like 2-3 years. All of a sudden, the game comes out and it's just not fun. You're like, man, what am I doing with my life?
Right. Fun is different for everyone. The fun might be that investment game of just trying to not do
part of the fun is part of the fun is not the game right now, it's the watching the development. I think today is going to be a good example as we pivot into Star Atlas of some of the things that they're doing that we've seen in pictures, but now we're starting to see it to scale in some of their video releases. So to me, that's part of the process. So maybe I'm paying for that excitement of seeing the next thing that comes out in the game without having something to play. But at the end of the day, I agree. If it's not fun, no one's going to stick around for it.
My fingers are. Oh, I was just going to say right quick. My fingers are crossed for 2022. I think we can all agree that things haven't necessarily been a great deal of fun, except for those people that really enjoyed Axie or whatever, right? But hopefully this year we'll start seeing some beta testing going on with some of these games that we're talking about. I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, a quick comment on what Watson just posted in the comments. So we don't blame you. Like we've done that ourselves, and some people don't have the tolerance or the capacity financially to just stick with a project for the whole length of development up until you're able to earn a dividends or a staking reward or some type of like passive income off of your initial investment. So, in all honesty, your the work you do and the relationships you build within the guild as a community to cultivate that type of environment, it goes way farther than anything that you would either invest in now or later as far as Rome. So
and what Watson said there also, I mean, part of that is part of the game that's being played right now. One of the game types that I like is resource management and strategy and maneuvering between the projects, how much to have in a project, when to take this is, to me, this is all gamified, and that is part of what I enjoy, even though there's not an actual game to play in a lot of these projects now.
Star Atlas in particular kind of reminds me of like playing Monopoly right now to a certain extent. It's like I'm getting my money from my ship staking, and you throw some into Polis or you buy another ship or whatever, and you watch your income basically go up. And that's enjoyable for me right now. It's not gameplay obviously, but that's all we have.
And watching growth is rewarding, right? For the different projects that we're in, every day or every couple of days you go in and see what you've accumulated. And even when it's worth less than what you originally paid for it, there's still a dopamine hit by the accumulation there, right? So that's part of it. I got a
dopamine hit snatching up some ships at a super discount like 2 days ago or something.
There you go.
I think the OPOD, the Visa's OPOD was at like 1,300.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah.
Fancy, I know you've got some Star Atlas stuff for us. Why don't we push into that?
Yeah, this was dropped during a Twitter space with Ash. It was a really good one. A lot of great energy there. She got a lot of the content creators from Star Atlas, and everyone was really excited when they see this.
I don't know why, but the sound of those footsteps always crack me up.
Happy feet. So Unreal Engine looks real.
Sorry,
Unreal Engine 5 looks really great in this.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah, that giant shape in the window emerging. It's a Titan ship, Busan: The Last Stand, I believe. Yeah, I might turn the volume down on this one a bit.
I think it's fun, Fancy.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. We're going to be listening to quite a bit, I imagine, when we actually play the game. So.
Hundreds of feet just clapping.
So we're looking at the Busan as we come up to it, the scale. Pretty big.
Now,
Extremely big.
Banjo, you were saying that the scale of this model, so the perspective that we're looking at it is from one of the smaller species, right?
Yeah. So what was stated in the foundation room is this is one of the smaller species. So that within this environment, they have different size characters that represent, the different races. And someone said that this is basically a waist high alien. I think I forget the name of them, but
So I like to highlight, you can barely even see like the PSX4 that's coming up at this range. So
Right.
compared to like the massive Titan ship, the scaling is really incredible.
And he
I
also
love
picked
that
up in
sprint
speed, if you
speed.
didn't notice.
Yeah.
Well, see, as it rolls up on this X4, the big question that came to mind for me is like when we see this size right here, as it's pause, great time to pause that. On a small and then onto the largest race and species type, you would almost think they wouldn't be able to, some would be able to ride this X4.
Yeah.
And can the smallest creature, will there be ships that are only utilizable by that smallest creature there? That would seem like, how's that little guy going to ride an X4?
Right. Right.
Maybe he gets a
It's
tiny
fine.
one. That'd be cool.
Yeah, there is. I know they're trying to make all ships available to all species, but it does break some of the reality of, look, this race wouldn't have built this size ship.
Right.
And it would almost homogenize it if they tried to make every race perfectly fit every vehicle. That's the struggle I have with the Tifa, right? The metagenic ships.
Yeah. Well, I could almost envision the Ooster race just getting some, strap-on leg rockets, and be able to fly around.
But I mean, we've seen that with basically every game, over time, right? I mean, you go back to like World of Warcraft, you had gnomes and you had the big Minotaur guys. What were those guys? Taurens?
Yeah.
I think they were. They would all ride the same mounts, and they would just change the size of the mount a little bit, or
Yeah. Fancy, I know you had other collateral in support of this video.
Yeah, I do. I'll bring it up as we get to it in the video. Like when it starts, the first frame looks really great, especially when compared to like the first images we saw all the way back then. I think it looks even better now.
Oh boy, does it? Yeah. Now what's interesting is that display case that they've got, or that display glass that's there in front of us, has a hull tank on it.
Right.
So I'm wondering if that's just a placeholder, or if we're seeing, a room without ships present. Like there'll be more ships.
This is one of the pictures we saw a while ago, and it seems a lot more open. There's stairs as you go through the video, and there's like more than one level. And as you get to the end of the video, as it like flips, you can see one ship that's kind of hiding. It's really cool. I'll just let it play out though again.
And so basically within the cargo hold is the only place we can see. That's the only thing that's illuminated, and it's the only place that this particular, it seems like that's probably the only place they can go right now. Like the rest hasn't been built out, perhaps.
Yeah, and this footage is, as I understand, is about 2 months old. Is that right, Fancy?
Yeah, so after this, Zesk, new hire at Star Atlas, he jumped into our Discord and confirmed this was captured in January. So, yeah, almost 3 months old now, which is really cool. Like, when you get to the PSX4, it's still in like the gray box.
Always got to love a little alpha from the Rome Discord.
Yeah. Just the size of that ship, though, is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. It just looks great. And
right there's a good opportunity to use that other collateral, right? Those balls.
Yeah. So the club posted this picture, and kind of highlights all the past clips we've seen and pictures and how it all jumbles together. There has been like multiple designs of this Titan. There's been one person working on it, so for all this time, and it looks really great. They want to showcase it. I wonder what it looks like
scale,
now.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, what's interesting too is when I think about this ship, at some point it looks like we could see mountains in the background of wherever this this place is. And I always thought of the Titan ships as being something that really could not orbit. You pretty much you
Right.
needed to go out to
Right.
space to be able to get near them, just because the gravity and the atmosphere just wouldn't be able to accommodate a ship that large. I wonder if that will actually be the case.
That's a good point. And I'm wondering if it's completely finished based on the pictures that the club shared. It looks like there should be wings attached to those balls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't see like the underside of it. It's just like that's one half of a side. It's really interesting perspective.
I
So
can't
then
wait to skin.
So the reason I asked that question to Zesk was this: we've seen the PX4 quite a few times fully skinned out,
Yeah.
and here it is in Unreal Engine 5 in grey. And yeah, this is a animation we saw a while back, but it's still amazing. So when you compare that to what, like I can imagine, I can see it there, even if it isn't.
Yeah.
And there's also another ship that's kind of in there. If you could stop it when he's running back, fancy. Oh, not right there.
Oh,
You can see in the back left there that looks like a symbol.
It does, yeah. So, there.
Of course, umbrella, I think.
Also
Yeah.
not skinned, but seems to be sitting on the ground instead of off of it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of like the last picture where it shows it has
Yeah,
that
you just
little.
can't see the legs. Yeah.
Then you can see like the Visas off in the distance and the 3 faction leaders or something like that
Yeah.
on top of the showroom. Yeah, it's interesting to think how big it will actually be.
right.
What's fascinating about the X4 that we just saw there a moment ago is to think that even though that thing is categorized as an extra small, it's actually going to have 4 weapons hard points on it, and it will have a tractor beam. It will have a shield generator. So maybe that shield is also what encapsulates a person to be able to allow them to be out of the atmosphere.
Yeah, I wish we could see more of the inside here. It's whetting my appetite, but I want more.
Yeah, once we get like a system of receiving all the pictures from all the departments in like a weekly fashion, that's what they're trying to do right now. That'd be really cool. They got a lot to show.
I agree with you there, man. Joe. I kind of wanted him to go hop in the cockpit of that
Yeah.
robot for a second or something,
It is sharp, though.
Might be some problems with your mic, Wickus.
Does that sound better?
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I do like how we focus in the crap set. It's just
Experience of what it was like.
No, it wasn't me.
texture-wise,
I'm hitting
it
that
seems
space
like-
bar a lot more.
With the texture-wise for the grass and stuff, it seems like there could be some improvements there as well. But
yeah, I
the
agree.
solid surfaces look great.
I think they have been working on the outside. That was one of like the roadmap reports a while ago, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah, at this view, I could picture like canyon racing on your Opel
Mhm.
Jets or
Yep.
your X4s. I hope there's
What
some
else?
Easter eggs that they give too. Maybe clues or some lore information, something.
Mhm.
That would be great, or a mini game that we can play. The floor.
Yeah, and I think, and especially it'd be cool if they started only releasing lore through the panels in there, and that gets more people used to wanting to spend more time in there and start doing their research by flipping through stuff. That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be super
Fancy,
cool.
what else you got?
So this week they started a new way of doing like a roadmap report. They have a condensed version of what's up at the bottom. So, for example, the showroom, the concept art is done. The art they're still building, UX UI building, game design done, blockchain prototyping. So, yeah, it's really clear how they're doing it, and I wonder how often we're going to get these. Is it every week? That'd be cool.
Is there anything now? What is that picture right there? Is that a building or is that a ship?
Looks like a train on a track.
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, that's what it looks like to me as well.
Yeah, somebody asked Bunthius in the Foundation room and he didn't answer it, so I guess we're going to have to wait.
Now, wasn't there a terrestrial-based ship that was in the latest ship brochure? One that traveled on land?
Yes, there was, actually. It doesn't really look like a capital, which I think it was. They were both capitals, the ground types.
I am
So-
still confused by that one. Why you would want something so large, like 300 meters, traveling across terrain?
Yeah, I
Unless
don't,
it was
I
to
don't get
move
it personally.
cargo, right? Move ore or something like that. That seems like a pretty large ship right there, though. Or is my scale off? Is it smaller?
well, it could just be like a little train in the showroom,
Yeah, that's a good point.
one platform to another. Yeah, so do we want to go through all of this? Who wants to take the lead?
Well, I think I'd go to the top one, Fancy. I think what we're seeing there is that's going to be, we kind of watched where they're at with the showroom right now. I think what's interesting is the wallet integration within the showroom. So it sounds like they're going to be putting a buy functionality right into the launch of the showroom, which I think is wise, right? People buy what they can see.
Right.
And I think we're good there.
Yeah, I do like this way of seeing how everything's going up to date. There's a long version, there's a short version. We don't really want to act out all of these scenes on the podcast,
Right.
so we're going to take the short version. Thank you, Meatloaf. It was very fun. We got some information on Scream. We haven't heard about that. I think it was Cream last time we got an update, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Do we?
Yeah, I like the story form because you go through the story form, and if you're more curious about a particular part of the update, then you can go into the details down here.
Right. Well, I know they don't give specific dates and all, but do we have a new sense of a base timeline for Scream and for the DAO? Is that something is it now potentially end of April? Is it, 4 to 6 weeks? Is it, Q3? How far, where are these things in the perceived timeline? I know there's no exact dates.
So I think we know like a general sense of the order. So like the marketplace is going to be first, and the showroom is further along than we saw in that picture and the video. So that could be a lot closer than we think, perhaps, and that'd be really fun. But the DAO, whenever they talk about it, there isn't much information that sounds close, really.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's the one I had understood for quite some time was the highest priority, and it just kind of feels like it's getting pushed back down the list now. And I understand that they probably ran into some things that are forcing that to happen, but yeah, still a little disheartening. And I think that is one of the key ingredients right now that that the community as a whole, especially those of us that have piled into Polis, that we'd like to see the DAO functional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They Foundation room, we can't show them, but there's some pretty interesting screenshots being shown in Foundation lately. They're really starting to show more and more of the ships. There's one that's really intriguing that has about 4 or 5 different ships all in the same shot. None of them are skinned, but it's all the boxes. So they are making some progress on the actual ships.
For show and scale between them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It actually looks like they're set up in the showroom environment on a flat surface.
So that was the roadmap report. We're still waiting on dates, and that would be great.
Awesome.
In other news,
What do we got this next, Fancy?
Well, in that report, they also showed a picture of this.
Yes.
It's like a user interface for, I assume, the showroom. You like select which ship you want to summon. You can teleport to your pad if need be, and that shows you how much you can spend if you have a. Well, you're going to need a wallet connected, I assume.
That's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So
That's
is
good.
this the idea? Like it's a screen that you see inside of the zone, or is it something that you see before you log into the zone?
Maybe you like walk up to the terminal, and this is the options.
Pretty interesting.
That'd be pretty cool if you could start buying your ships from within the showroom instead of having to use the website.
If you were required to, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
To actually have to log in and buy them in the 3D space.
Yeah, I agree. I
Any-
reckon we're going to hear some news about new ships coming soon.
Is there any talk of like the ship sales going? Oh, that's right. They with regards to it being only in Atlas, it was suggested at some time that there was benefit to the team for continuing to have ship sales in USDC. But if the coffers are pretty full, why not switch now to Atlas to be able to stabilize or increase the value there?
When it's released, like 20% of the stock or something really low like that is USD, and the rest is Atlas. So there's the option there if you do want to buy it in USDC, which is probably nicer for the buyer.
Yeah, I was just thinking that in terms of if you could only purchase through the showroom, you could only purchase in Atlas. That does a number of things. It gets people more immersed into the early experience of the game and what the ships are, and then it also drives more value in Atlas as a token.
I remember talking or asking Chip the last time about the education and how if there was a course that someone had to go through outside of the game and then it continued within after you created your wallet, and then from there you would buy your ships. But I feel like that, and I think what he was mentioning was to keep it open from all sides, because if it's something that's restrictive and not that and doesn't give many people the options of going in when they want to go in after they learn how to maybe create a wallet or purchasing a ship, then it might turn people away. And if I guess their goal is to have mass adoption up to 500,000 by the end of the year, from what Wagner was saying, I guess having both of those options would be probably best.
Logan brings up a great point there with if the Titan auction was only in Atlas, that would really create some movement in Atlas prices they buy up.
Absolutely would.
Ray had a good point though. I mean, that's something that I'm looking at a lot of projects right now dealing with, is basically how to get more people onboarded. So the more difficulty as far as having to go through a DEX or a different exchange, having to create a crypto wallet, all of these things are barrier to entry that a lot of these projects are trying to minimize as much as possible.
Yeah.
Fancy, anything else with Star Atlas, or are we moving on to another project?
I did want to see which ship from the GALs you'd be most interested in that we have pictures of. Just like generally, there's the Visus Ballad, Calico Medtech. We don't know this ship, but I assume it's an Opal.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. I think this one's a tow hauler, and this beast.
Wow.
What's your favorite?
Is that a Busan or something right there?
I think this is the Ogrika, perhaps. I can't remember. Off the top
Can we
of my
make
head,
out
though.
which ship is that in the bottom right-hand side? Behind.
This seems like a smaller Ogrika, if whatever it is. Maybe it has like a team of them inside. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool.
It's interesting.
My fave.
Yeah, thing's amazing.
So far for me, it's the Visas. That white one that's really big. Nah, not that one. The one that we don't know the name of it. That one. I love that.
That's a
beautiful
ship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a Visas, it looks like the Opod a little bit, but it could be something else.
So we have someone telling us the name here, Busan Maidenheart, and
There you go.
That makes sense. It has the same aesthetic as the other Busan Titan.
Right.
and he's saying probably the eyes for the moment as the smaller one. Thanks, Calvin.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of eyes on these bigger ship sales, and I think it would be cool to have that in Atlas only. would be great
Right.
for the token.
Super Phoenix is my favorite, for the record.
I wonder if they'll give people the opportunity to tour the Titans prior to sale, because otherwise you may never get an opportunity to get on it and see what it's all about on the inside, unless they allow you.
Right.
I agree with K-Net. I think the tree arrow is my favorite. Then after that, I'm a rainbow guy.
I'm still a sucker for a Calico Hero.
Fancy shit.
Yeah, I think I can't say your name, brother, but I think you're making a good point here. Having to connect your wallet in your face may scare non-crypto users away when entering the SA site. Might be more easier in the 3D version. Yeah, I think a lot of games in the space right now are dealing with that issue of how to be user friendly to non-crypto people, whether it's, you know, trying to keep the token exchanges down to a minimum or wallet use down to a minimum. You know, they're all exploring it.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that's probably missing, even, you know, across the board with wallets, is a really clear understanding of what is happening. You know, when a person goes, even when you're just signing and a transaction doesn't take place, I think that the user-friendly wallet experience of the future will be something that just gives a little bit more detail. Starless began to do that. Remember when we first started, when you were refueling and, you know, the adding the 4 Rs. Even now, it's more clear and telling you exactly what's going on. And I think the more clarity you have, it's going to make more sense, because the moment people become confused, they stop doing what they're doing.
Yeah, I think we need to consider in these types of games that your wallet and the crypto behind it almost needs to be like an email protocol, right? It's just sitting there in the background. You don't think about it. You don't know what it is, but you know that you're interacting with it. I think that's, and then allows the people to focus on the game instead.
And you know, one of the things I think we may see come to the space at some point is escrow companies that work in the middle. So that way, if I'm someone that's new to crypto and I could use a wallet that functions as an escrow, so when I pay someone, I'm protected against risk, because the escrow company will have a relationship with who's getting paid, that, hey, you know what, you have to be in good standings, and that way it eliminates a lot of scams. So I think that at some point there may be some escrow wallet services that help kind of iron out that part where people just are blatantly getting ripped off.
Yeah. So something that has rule sets for the both parties, right?
Yep.
That have to be met. No, I agree. Fancy, I think that's good for Star Atlas now, but I'm pretty sure you have some Illuvium stuff to share.
Yeah, we haven't covered them in a while, have we?
No.
They consistently post things almost to the extent where you're drowning in content, just animations and cool soundtracks. It's really awesome. Go check out their Discord. They're doing more like marketing things recently, doing good like economic videos. We'll play a clip from that later. They're also sharing wrong clip. I'll upload that, but they're also sharing more gameplays, specifically survival mode. That's going to be like their bread and butter mechanics for gameplay. You're going to collect all of these Illuviums and you will battle with them.
So you collect them in the open world, and then you combat in these little arenas, right?
Yeah, you collect shards, and they can be collected from like time spent or a bit of SILV for like a reasonable price.
Okay.
So yeah, they're really going for a fair launch, and they talk about a lot of their thoughts in the economic video.
It's pretty smooth.
Get ready to fight.
So it looks like when you place your assets, it tells you by graying out what you can no longer place, right?
Yeah, so you get a set amount of gold per turn, and every wave you finish, it's a bit more gold. You can sell your team in the shopping break, which is about 20 seconds normally in other games. And yeah, you can buy new ones, and it tells you which affinities and which classes are possible So on your left, it displays your affinities and classes, and the right side displays the next round of enemies or the current one. So you have to like try and get the synergies that will beat that.
It's interesting. It has a very game console box aesthetic to it. It's really nice the way it's coming together.
Yeah, this could easily be done on an Xbox or a PlayStation. And Fancy, I know we talked about this before broadcast, but this is all automated. There's no player involvement. Once you set your pieces on the board, they auto attack.
Yeah, they auto attack, and when they attack, they get a bit of mana on their bottom bar. When that bar is full, they cast their ability, and I assume that each one of them has like a unique ability, and as you evolve or fuse them, they just get a better version of that.
Yeah, you're just their corner man.
So you can see like there's fighters, earth, fire, water, and all of these like counter each other. So they do showcase in this quite a lot. The like fire versus what is it? Empath, I think. The green one. So that's like effective against it, and it beats it quite easily.
Fancy, there was a question here. Do we know when this is going to launch?
We don't yet. We're still waiting on the staking V2 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that's been on a while now. It was posted originally for the staking update. It was supposed to be a couple weeks, but I think it's been a couple months now.
I agree. Yeah, that hack really set them back. They had to think about how they're doing things, which is probably for the better in the long haul if this does succeed.
Mm-hmm. You know, one thing
compensated, so it's not the worst thing for the users.
Do we know, like, once these is the card foundation of this game, does it stop completely there? And the reason I ask that, a game that I haven't played but I'm actually thinking about buying, that's just like a traditional game that's based on a board game, is Gloomhaven. Have you guys seen that game or ever played it?
I have not.
No.
The graphics for it are pretty intense, and it's very card-based, but because they took it from a desktop. But then they also layer on top of the card that you can buy weapons and buffs and things like that. And it almost seems like, unless there's a fixed card structure for this game, that would also be something that they could do. I know Pegaxi is actually looking to go that route, like you'll be able to give your Pega food and things like that, you know, to kind of increase the base stats of what your Pega does. The same thing you would do with a card here. So I wonder if that would be something that will make its way into the game, or if you're just playing a strict card based alluvial.
Yeah, it does take inspiration from a lot of games. I think mainly from things like Teamfight Tactics. I assume people who have been playing that for however long it's been out now, a couple of years, will be good at this game.
Mm-hmm.
So, Fancy, is there a reward system in place? I mean, when you win a battle, what do you get?
So there's a global leaderboard for how many waves you defeated, and there could be like a prize for the top however many, which is what I did see in other games like Skyweaver, where there's a ranked system. And yeah, it really depends on how far you get, and yeah, it'd be cool to have like a Roman #1.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually, I have not been close to Illuvium, but this is actually getting me interested.
Yeah, it's going to look better, right, Banjo? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks a lot better than what I've seen in the past.
Yeah,
I really do think this
cinematic.
hits the
They made
Pokemon.
it. Sorry, they made it really like cinematic as well. So if you're not just sitting around during all the turns, it's quite fun. So
Now, do they have a spectator mode? Can you go in for like esports and watch other people battle?
Yeah, so when they zoom out really far, you see like all the seats. This is built as like an arena, and you can see here like the leaderboard on the left, how many waves they conquered. Yeah. So this could be like a PvP sort of thing quite easily when like fighting is good enough. That's why it's player versus computer at the moment. So Yeah.
You know, one of the things about Illuvium that's interesting is I think that the project as a whole mostly came on our radar last July, and then I personally became active in staking and involved in it around July or August. I think it was around then, and so we've seen this progression where they're very good about sharing within their community development progress, and we've seen so much stuff from the design of the alluvials themselves, some sneak peeks along the way of that, design of the plants and the landscape, design of the fighting field. And so it's really cool. And I think they kind of like win one of the awards right now for projects where we've seen it progress in that 6 to 8 month period of time from concepts to what we're seeing now. So hats off to them for that, for sure.
Agreed.
Yeah, and they want to put up like big rewards for esports just to get attention from media. So they could have like battles where people put like X amount of ETH on the line, and if it's that much and you have the option to watch it, I imagine people will just gravitate towards it.
So since this is an automated attack system, is this essentially pay to win?
Depends how you get the alluviums. If everyone has the fair amount, like fair, then it's just like a skill type of thing.
Right. Because well, based on what you shared, there is no skill at this point, right? It's just maximizing
if everyone has the
NFTs.
same tools, then yeah, it's just
Well, I mean, there could potentially be a layer because I mean, one of the concepts of card games is knowing what cards to play in what sequence.
True. That's a good point. Actually, yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, so I wouldn't play this all the way through. Just wanted to get it on while we was talking about it still. The economics deep dive they did was really interesting. And yeah, I would love to get into that a bit.
No volume.
There you go. Got to break it down.
All right. So the
revenue distribution, if they're staked in ILV. So what is revenue distribution, and how does somebody take part in this? You got to break it down.
All right. So the really, really cool thing about revenue distributions, a lot of people, if you don't go deep into it, then and on the surface, it sort of looks like, okay, they're going to take all of the in-game transactions and they're just going to send that out to the people who are staked in the protocol proportionately. That is true. However, there's one more mechanism there which gets me really, really excited, because you got to remember, this has never been done before, certainly not at this scale. You know, I've been in a lot of protocols and I haven't seen this before. And so essentially what we're doing is we're taking all of that ETH from the in-game fees, and not just the in-game fees. We're talking about the Illuvium Zero fees. We're talking about merchandise fees. We're talking about sponsorships, absolutely anything that makes revenue inside the Illuvium ecosystem goes inside a vault. Now, periodically, that vault will trigger and it will purchase ILV off the market. Now, why that's so exciting, right, is because if you think about it, if you look at like some of the other games out there that are live now, the revenues that they're generating, and they don't even have things like skins and enhancement and fusing and revival and like the 50,000 other in-game transactions that we have, we're going to have situations where there's potentially like 50 million, or if in the case, of large Illuvitar's event or something like that, even more. Well, then that vault is then going to, the smart contract is then going to buy all of that ILV off the market. Now, yes, that gets distributed back to the stakers in the protocol. And yes, it is unlocked. But the idea is you're already accustomed to the staking protocol for the last 6 to 12 months. So you receive this ILV and you've got a decision to make. You can either sell it to cash in and go, okay, I made my dividend, and effectively what you sell compared to what we bought, if everyone sold, it should even itself back out, right? Theoretically. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be a large percentage of people that want to compound their ILV rewards. So then you have a situation where every time that our vault's triggering, and you won't know when it is, so you can't front run it or anything like that, but every time it triggers, it's going to be creating such a huge amount of pressure on the token, on the ILV token going up, and then potentially only, let's call it, half of the people cashing that out. It's just a constant way to increase the token price. And so that's what I'm like, that people are asking in the chat what I'm most excited about. Rev divs is obviously it.
Yeah, that was a segment from the economy deep dive, and I just found that really interesting. That mechanic of the vault front running, like the market, that would be a huge sell order.
Well, I think it's awesome to see that the back end is there to support the sustainability of the project, right? I mean, it's a lot of times we see land as the way that people are going to quote unquote get paid for being invested in these projects, and that one is more broadly rewarding people who just own Illuvium if it's staked, as I understand it, which is great.
Yeah, like 100% of their profits go back into the reward pool. The team, they just bought off the market, so they are like a part. There isn't a team wallet. I find that really interesting. It's just a solid project overall, and when it has something to show it, yeah, I'd love to play it.
So there's no team wallet. Are they funded by seed investors, or how are they funding the project?
I can't answer like too many questions like that. I'm not affiliated with them, but yeah, it's just they explain a lot of it in this deep dive, and I'd recommend watching it. I'll put it in the chat of that video.
Just answer the question, Fancy.
What are you trying to hide?
Awesome. What else you got, Fancy?
Yeah, so what did you guys think about that clip?
It makes me want to, after the show, I'm going to go and dig in more into that. I'm really, the project as a whole, their tokenomics, the folks that are backing them, the way that they already have community votes for who sits on the board. All the stuff that they're doing, I think, is really, really exciting. And so it's a project that, just for learning the potential and possibilities in this space, it's one I really want to pay attention to. And it seems like there's a lot of stuff for me to catch up on. So I'm glad you shared that, and I plan on digging in.
I think it's exciting to see a project fully disclose how the back end is going to work to help people understand what's in it for them. I think even with a project like Star Atlas, they're still figuring that out. And then who knows what it's going to look like in Miranda's, the other project we talk about. So I love to see that. It does mirror a lot of the different DeFi protocols for their governance platforms and how the governance gets paid out. I can think of one project in particular that looks very similar to that. And I think for anybody who's building a project, even some investment type projects, you would benefit from that type of back end that replenishes, the sustainability of the project.
Yep.
Yeah, shout out to all the projects out there that are being open and transparent. I don't think we'll ever get that kind of openness or transparency from Gala Games, but they're still winning out there. Like Ray mentioned earlier, they're still winning. So being transparent or not isn't necessarily an issue, but you can't trust them as much for sure.
And for all of the times that they have literally used the phrase "show you how the sausage is made," we still have no idea what's in that sausage.
You almost made me joke.
If it's being made at all.
Yeah.
So I think that covers Illuvium. Fancy, I think we have a little bit of Gala stuff to talk about too, right?
Yeah, so Materium dropped this week. Did you guys get yours?
I got mine.
Yes.
I got a pile. I got exactly what I was expecting based on the numbers, which surprised me that I actually got what I was expecting.
Yeah. So one of the things. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. I was just gonna say I think we all got what we were supposed to get.
We got it, but we can't do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no liquidity yet, right?
But one of the
not
things
but yeah, go ahead. I think you're gonna probably talk about it.
One of the things that I appreciated about the Materium stuff is that you didn't have to actually log into the game. You just had to get to the login screen for your exemplar to register. And I think that put a lot of people's mind at ease who had a ton of exemplars, Jesse, who may not have been able to log every character in because the servers were full. I was a little disappointed in the outlay of how much each race got. I understand why they did it. But again, sometimes you buy into a project and they never explain the upside down the line. And definitely for the people who bought the elves and the halflings, it paid off well from a Materium perspective.
It's an interesting thing with Gala because as they put more and more things out, things seem to be coming together very well. But it's hard to know when they actually came up with these ideas because they never mentioned Materium, whatever, definitely not a year ago. And I don't even think 6 months ago, So, did Materium just arrive and then they just kind of figured it out and made it work? Or
totally. It's the last AMA they did where they actually had, Bitbender, McCarthy, and the CEO all on the same AMA when they were spitballing and talking about like, will there even be an in-game currency? What will we call it? Will it be Gala? They'd like to see it be Gala, but they know with other games that they're probably going to want their own in-game token. And then they still wanted to use gold, silver, and platinum, the traditional model from within role-playing games and of that type. But all of these things seem to be fueled after the fact by marketing and sales. For example, you do play test, and the play test was set up to say you can only play if you have an exemplar. So that kicks off exemplar sales. And then it's like to sell more exemplars. If you play with an exemplar and you have more exemplars, you're going to be able to earn some benefits from that. So it always seems to be following the tail of what marketing's needs are rather than a foundation up of what the gameplay should be.
Which is scary to a certain extent, right? Because that gives off some Ponzi vibes.
Yep.
Not financial advice, but they did also mention that there's going to be more playtests, and so there's going to be more Materium drops to exemplars, which obviously is going to fuel more exemplar sales, which are down right now. I mean, the humans are at about a 50% discount from the original launch, right? And the same with the epics. So the orcs and the dwarves are all about half off right now. I think the only things that aren't half off are the elves. The elves I think are up, but everything else
are up a little bit. Even though like when I originally sold a couple of elves, I got a lot more than what you could get for them now. So sentiment is definitely down quite a bit.
Down, but
Any speculation? What you guys think that the Materium's going to go for? Once there is some liquidity and people can get out of it?
I think
it's really hard to say.
Yeah, I think it needs to have utility, right? So Townstar coin at least has utility. They can use it to buy things, and I know they're implying that with the lantern, but they need to give us more to buy. So I'm
which is scary, Banjo.
To match Townstar.
Don't tell them that we need more stuff to buy with Materium, please.
The lamp is right now. The first drop of the lamp looks like there's only going to be 10 lamps that they're available, and those 10 lamps are going to go for 10,000 Materium, and the lamps carry the rarity status of ancient. So being that you have a limited supply of these things that is categorized as ancient, it'd be strange if they had a value of less than, say, 5,000 equivalent US dollars, which would put the pricing of Materium at about 50 cents. So it's 50 cents. Is it $1? I'm curious to see where it goes. And we also know in the very beginning, people will want to get their hands on some. I've even seen some talk and like people are already trying to buy it and sell it without even knowing what it's worth within the Gala Discord. So I'm curious to see what will happen out the gate.
And within our own Discord, we have some people trying to make some trades as well.
Yeah, I'm actually one of those.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna put you on blast, right? But yeah.
If you think about the idea that the first item you can buy is a lantern, that seems a little bit, and it's an ancient lantern that apparently never goes out, and it might be a little bit brighter. It seems a little bit underwhelming, right? It's for a 10,000 Materium, but again, if we don't know the value of Materium, it's hard to say. But I tell you, all those elf holders are going to be fighting over those lanterns. Those are the people who are going to have enough Materium.
Well, not the ones who can see in the dark.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the one there was some theory crafting going on in our Discord as far as the one elf that actually gains I can't remember if it's resource management or healing or whatever from sunlight, and whether or not that would be able to interact with that lamp, because the lamp is obviously based on sunlight as well.
I'm just kind of scrolling through some of Miranda's Master's comments in the Discord, and he says he has a cartographer. So if he has a cartographer, might be in your best interest to have a cartographer. Right?
I got about 60 of them, so I'm doing all right.
You'll never get lost again. But
wrong, we have all the maps.
Yeah, when it comes to Materium, I'm actually putting out an announcement, which I did already. But if anyone wants to sell the Materium, I'll buy it for 1-to-1 for Gala, because I'm actually wanting one of those lanterns, and I have half of what Jess has as far as Materium from the amount of exemplars I have, a little bit over that. So I'm only needing 4,600 left. So if you don't care about Materium, you know where to go. Join our Discord, and you'll get some Gala for it.
Ray's like, come talk to me.
Yeah. Ray's doing his own Rome starter fund, right? Right. A Kickstarter.
Hey, we're going to need one for the guild.
Yeah, that's what the guys in the guild were talking about. It'd be nice to have at least one in the guild, just in case it. Gala has this weird way of either completely forgetting about an NFT and acting like it never got dropped in the first place, or pumping so much love and utility into the thing back in that you're mad that you didn't get one. So
yeah,
I think you go either way with this lamp.
No middle ground.
Well, you know what it is?
No middle ground at all.
I'm waiting on some really positive Gala news, and that's what's going to drive everything back up, because there's been a lull as news as it relates to Miranda's, because we know that, like we said, we're going to see Gala burgers pretty soon. They're so diversified in so many different markets now, that things have completely fallen off. Like, remember way back when they were about to have those homeless shelters in Miranda's, and it's like, then that whole relationship with
disappeared.
Opera, the browser, I think it was Opera, that just completely just gone. And I wonder, was it them that pulled out, said, hey, wait a minute, we've been looking at some market sentiment here, we're not sure we want to partner up in this way. But as soon as they actually have some good things to share, another server test, you will see some interest jump back in, and prices of things will go back up just as they have in the past.
And that's a good point there, right? Because not financial advice, but it's one of those interesting things about them. They're so diversified across different markets. So they have Gala music now, and Uncle Snoop has been staying engaged with the Gala community, actually. So that's an interesting thing, right? That's still pumping. And Steve Aoki, who's been deep in NFTs, is actually signed on as well with Gala. So that's another way that they could drive value back into the Gala ecosystem as a whole, because these games, the music interacting with the games in different types of interesting ways is something they have a lever to pull now. And then they just started some kind of Web3 women thing.
Yep.
No idea what that's going to be, but that's going to be another way for them to garner more publicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they have multiple avenues in order to drive attention back into the Gala ecosystem at any given point. It's just going to be interesting, like you said, how they manage all that and how long. Yeah. Where's the foundation? Where's the floor? How are they going to build this sustainability into where everything doesn't come crashing down one day? It's still out, out in the air.
Yeah. Was there something related to travel, like someone just mentioned there? Because they travel. There was something with movies.
I can't remember which platform it is, but I think it's like Travala, maybe. It's one of those where now you can use Gala coin. You can use that to purchase your tickets now. Wow. And the Snoop Dogg stash boxes, those just opened up yesterday, so that brought a lot of attention. What
was in them?
I'm sitting. I got 1,
party
2,
pack.
3, 4, 5, 6. I got like 7 songs out of that box, I think.
Nice.
But I don't know because I can't play them. You know,
Pounded in virtual
right
weed.
now I got NFTs of records spinning. So whatever that means, and then I got some. I got like a couple of tokens. Like I have a Death Row fan token, and I have a Snoop and Steve token.
Mhm.
And so one of the songs on OpenSea right now is still going for around $4 or $5 grand, which was around the price of the stash box, and then all the others are going for like $100 a piece or whatever. So you kind of, if you wanted to flip, you have some opportunities there. But we'll see how it goes. It's all up in the air right now. So
Is the Gala one? Is the Gala exclusive song the one that's 5K?
right. Well,
Okay.
it's the Back on Death Row song by Snoop. So basically he came out with, I think, like a handful of songs, like however many songs it was for Gala exclusively, and then there's the album. So the stash box contains your track from the album plus the exclusive Gala songs. So everybody got the exclusive Gala songs, and you got one of, and I don't know if there's rarity with these songs that are off the album or not. It's really kind of interesting. That's why I'm not trying to share any of it because it's still rather confusing. It's just, as usual, when there's a project from Gala fresh out, there's just not a lot of information on it. So you don't really want to talk about it too much and get yourself in trouble.
And something usually breaks, they have to fix. That's the two knowns, right? When they launch something new. And they just had a node vote over there as well, over a game that actually didn't get past the node vote, which technically, but technically it already had been approved, but the funding did not get approved.
Isn't that the first-person shooter?
Yeah, and I think it was being developed internally as well, which is kind of funny that they're talking about a no vote on a game that they were developing internally.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because we've all been kind of wondering if the no votes actually mattered or not, and so they did a vote. They got the game, the initial startup, like you said, Banjo, and then now they're not able to get funding because the nodes say no. So was it the node saying no, or them deciding the project is bad, and so the node said no all of a sudden? Like what's going on?
That was my exact thought too, as I saw that, and I was starting to wonder about the mechanics. Like, did they already have an opinion on what they wanted, and did they know? In other words, will they have a vote when they don't know the outcome?
Mm-hmm.
That part I'm not so sure about. Last night I was watching the movie. I don't know if you haven't. It's from 1997, Wag the Dog. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. And if you have, right now is a really interesting time to watch it again. And you'd be like, wow, okay. And so you start to, and so I always wonder, like a couple steps ahead, like what is Gala's motive? Will they have a vote and to risk a potential outcome that doesn't favor what they want? Or do the votes traditionally come when they have a feel for, like, we think we know how it's going to go?
Well, and we also have to consider that there's a bunch of nodes that are owned by people within Gala, right? So
yes,
and we don't know their voting share, so they could have some sort of weighted voting power that they get to dictate all of the votes.
Because as usual, we don't know, right? So that's the issue right there. So to answer this question from the chat, anyone collect all of them? Can't you go chill with Snoop if you have all the tracks? So yeah, there's 18 tracks from the album. And if you collect them all, then you get, it's all those vague, exclusive, rare things that they're not going to tell you all of. But yeah, one of them is you're supposed to be able to go hang out with Snoop. You're supposed to get a Death Row chain, and I think something else that they've already mentioned. But like I was mentioning, those are all around 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 at this point. So you're still kind of spending the same kind of money as if you were just buying a whole bunch of stash boxes in the beginning.
Yeah, Punjab says somebody got him. Somebody got a ball. I'm not sure who John T is, but
if we had somebody if somebody spent $450,000 just to buy a plot of land next to Snoop and Sandbox, I could see them spending. And what would the price be to get all 18 if they want to go hang out with Snoop? Do we know what that investment looked like?
Quick math on it is you're looking at roughly in the neighborhood of $100 grand So
People
somewhere
would pay that in a
between
heartbeat.
80 and 120. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exclusive access for $100,000. People do that stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's facts. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Well,
We'll see. Gala Music, shout out. Let's see how it goes.
Or I mean, for some people, that's only 34 ETH that they bought, back in 2017. So
right, that's always the other side of the coin, right, Jesse? Is to some people this is still funny money. So that's always a key thing to remember. And then I mean the music nodes weren't that expensive when they were on sale last time. We'll see what they do when they re-release them again. As we know, they're not the same as the founders nodes where there's a limited supply. They made sure they didn't lock themselves in like that on the music nodes, and there's an unlimited supply of music nodes. So we'll see how that all plays out as well.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it to you, Bonafide, to keep us all up to speed, because I don't think any of us have our fingers in that pool.
Yeah, I kind of got lucky with my node drops, so I'm playing with it a little bit.
Awesome.
What's that? No drop.
So I got the stash box. You not being able to get one.
Still never seen one, man.
They were tearing you up in the comments when I mentioned that I got one. The stash box in the drop that time. Yeah, your eyes were like so hurt. Oh man.
Awesome. Well, I think that covers Gala Games for now, and I think Ray has some Axie stuff, right?
Yes, I do. But let me just add my screen here, and we can go on with Axie Infinity. So it's been about 2 weeks. I think we didn't talk about Axie, but since then, a lot has happened. As the end of the month is when Axie Origin V3 is coming out. So all the revamped artwork for the cards, the effects, the damage, the attack power for each one, and how it's all going to come together is going to be revealed at the end of the month. But so far, since within the last month, we've gotten the art and the effects of the back cards, as we see here.
I want to Axie with a samurai sword.
Yeah, the art is just so good. So you can really get lost in each one of the cards' art. Whether some people like it depending on your style, but some of them are funny, some of them are kind of scary looking. Some of them are, the whole spectrum. But we also have the horn cards and the mouth cards. So 3 out of the 6 body parts that are going to have cards and effects associated with those cards to use in battle. So yeah, so this attack move for the horn is called Trump. So there's some history with some of the cards, and if you've been around, you know the cards by heart. So you could look at an Axie and potentially know what the name of each of the, for the mouth, the eyes, the ears. So if you've been in the space or you know about the cards, you'll get some of the jokes that are kind of under the surface with some of the card art. So I'm just showing you some of the back card art. I'm going to go through some of them, but there's very colorful. It actually jumps out at you. There's a lot to look at, and with the associated effects. So there's going to be a lot of different types of, like for poison, different types of. So we could go through them now. So we have Fear, Bleed, Jinx. A lot of card games have these types of effects when you play the cards, and there's just going to be too many types of metas that are going to come out from this, and there's going to be a lot of buffing and nerfing along the way. So here we have some water cards, and they broke it down for each class. So you'll have a class of beast cards for the back, the horns, etc., for each body part. And you'll have, so here we have the grass or the plant Axie. And there's some inspiration from a lot of the games that we may know already. So like Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, Hearthstone, Yu-Gi-Oh. Some of the actual definitions and the names, they kind of they jump from game to game. So you'll know what the effects of any card's effect is from playing a game previous to Axie Infinity. Yeah. Right, and the gameplay is going to resemble more of Slay the Spire. So I don't have a clip of that, but you can just Google on YouTube it's a popular game on Steam. It's fast paced, so I look forward to that. It's going to be a whole different feel to the game. It's basically a whole new game in itself, and everyone's looking forward to that. in the community as far as what it's going to be and how it's going to potentially help the image of the game after this SLP debacle and the price just going down. But just some important notes here. So this happened on March 3rd, so earlier in the month, the beginning of the month, but definitely worth a listen because the creators program was created and announced, and it was going to increase the amount of the fees that are charged by you if you buy or sell any Axie or item or land in the marketplace to 5.25%. So it's right now it's still 4.25, but there's a lot of talk going around and community planning and input to for why it shouldn't be 5 or should be 5.25%, and where that money is going to go and why, so there's a great conversation taking place to shape what the creator program is going to look like. And the creator program is a code that you'd get as a content creator where you could potentially make an affiliate program, basically. So everyone's excited for that. There's many content creators, people starting up that haven't been making content for a while. It could be from any type of articles to videos. So they're pushing the community to promote education more than anything else to get people onboarded with the drop of V3. And then there was also a new hire. Director of Business for Sky Mavis is now here, Caitlin, and she's from Jump Capital, Director of Director of Market Dev. So, you can check her out, follow her. All of the people, the marketing lead, here we have the Director of Market Dev and the Products Manager. They're all giving information, and I could relate this to maybe the founders or the foundation room in Star Atlas. So the equivalent of information is being released on Twitter by these individuals. So if you ever wanted to know more than just what G-Host has to say, you can check out these people. Yep, and then there was a 210 Ethereum Genesis plots acquired by Arca. This was on March 1st, so we're going a little back here, but this was just a land acquisition from an NFT fund who are investing into these high-priced assets that have a lot of value in the game from what the white papers and what they're supposed to do when land comes out. So people are preparing across the board, whether you're a fund or an individual, being interested in Axie Infinity for V3 and land drop coming out later this year.
Right, quick, right. We've had some people in the past who ask us how we get all this information in alpha, and what you're doing right now is really good for people to take note of. Going through Twitter, following all these different accounts is how you get a lot of the early information about the space. And even if they're on a project that you're not necessarily interested in, a lot of times these people move around. Once they're in the space, they move around to different projects. And so you get a lot of alpha just by following these people.
Yeah, it's a revolving door, as we know in corporate America, but it's similar to and government, corporate America and government. But in the crypto Twitter space, it's similar. You have people jumping from different DAOs or companies from Tri or just Web3, and if you follow where the money goes, but also where the talent is, where it's being acquired, and then where it's moving, you could make out pretty good with information that could put you in front of a lot of other people.
Yeah, so thank you for this, because I'm following a couple new people now just because you showed us this thing.
For sure, man. Yeah, that's what it's all about. You want to keep your ear to the ground. That's why a lot of you guys follow us at Rome. We're not, the holy grail of information. There's so many games. We don't talk about all of them. In our Discord, we have more channels that talk about different games, but it would take us forever to talk and cover about all updates. But yeah, this was a thread and also an announcement on the Discord of Axie Infinity, and there's a handful of these, but I'll go through them quickly, and they're paired with some art of the cards. So this was the latest announcement, and so all hands are on deck internally around the soft launch of Axie Infinity Origin. We want to provide some updates around what our community should expect with the coming of V3 at the end of the month. So the soft launch of Origin will come in phases. We will start with a small scope and gradually expand in the months after initial launch. And first, Origin will be launched on a desktop service through the Mavis Hub. This period will center around gathering vital feedback, testing scalability of servers, and enabling our community to start adjusting to the new game mechanics. And I love this. Reminds me of a Goku on the Nimbus for Dragon Ball Z. So moving on here, next roughly a month after the release of Origin, through desktop, we will launch Origin, the Origin for Android and mobile APK. We've decided to launch mobile separately to ensure our servers have enough capacity to support millions of players, which is beautiful. So there's going to be a slow transition. And then once the mobile and desktop versions are live, we will work towards doing a full launch that also incorporates SLP, NFT charms, and runes, and have official seasons. So charms and runes are very important pieces of V3. We'll touch that briefly right here, which is this content creator is an amazing one, and he's with the guild Meditate. Elijah, the largest YouTuber for Axie Infinity content, picked them up as a content creator, and by far the best one for education on Axie. And this is some of the information I pulled from the videos that he makes. So you could go give him a follow. ONI Faction, no association with him or the guild. It's just an amazing content creator. And this was a tweet that G House mentioned, which is charms or modifiers that can be attached to cards, enhancing them. So the card sets for each Axie will more or less stay the same. There'll be some buffs and nerfs along the way. Some cards will be overpowered. But for the most part, charms are not always going to be, they're going to be seasonal things that you're going to be able to create using SLP, which is going to help another sync or burn mechanic for SLP. But that's besides the point. The point of mentioning charms here as modifiers are that once you make those charms and use them, they're gone. And then after the season of what particular charms are available to craft, there's going to be a new set of charms. So it's not going to be the case where you're going to have to potentially buy new Axies all the time, because a composition of a particular Axie would work better with particular charms that are applied. And if every season they're going to change, it's going to always be a revolving door of meta play with the same Axies with the same cards. You could always, by all means, change your team and buy a new team, and then for whatever season that you're in now, there's going to be a whole set of charms that are different that will improve your Axie, give it a special boost, an advantage over your opponent's team that might be all poison versus, if you didn't have those charms. So the amount of flexibility and adaptation that you're going to have as a player, and then it's going to be a constant a game where you're going to have to be on your toes for the most part every season, or else you might get lost if you're coming in on the back end of a season with all these charms and their effects. So we'll just see how it goes. A lot of people are anticipating this to be an exciting journey.
What I like about that is it requires you to stay on top of what's going on in the game, right? You can't just build your perfect system for every season. You got to make adjustments.
Right, and games can get stale. You know what I mean? Like the tedious. After some time, you know all the moves. You know what comps are the best versus others, and there's just going to be no room, only within the season, of the particular charms that and the effects that they have, where you'd be able to maybe wrap your head around what's the best comp. But as soon as that season ends, you have your chance of winning the arena rewards by placing top 100, top 10. As rewards, they go higher as you go up. But once that season ends, it's going to be a whole different ballgame again. So it's going to be a constant evolving, changing game, which is nice.
It also, and so these are expendable, right? You have to pay money for them and use them for that season, or is it for just one round?
So no, I think they would be used at the end of the match that you're using them in. So if you wanted to create more, you can, and then you could use them on your Axies before going into battle. I believe you wouldn't be able to. You would have to hook up your Axies because they have these effects. So change ability target to furthest one. So this would be a charm that you would equip to attack the furthest enemy. So now this is a backdoor type of attack where it would change the game completely if they were leaning on their back Axie to finish off the game in a strong way to win. So you would create for each class, you can create charms that are going to be available for that particular season, and then apply those before going into a match. And maybe I'm wrong there. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Maybe in real time, if you crafted them, I think that might be the case. I'll have to ask and if it was shared already, then someone enlighten me. But I can see them using it real time, which would be even better, where you'll be able to have them in your wallet and use them, maybe one back to back.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with Illuvium. I was wondering like if it was going to be straight cards and what the stats are, or will you have the option to have things like this that provide further buffs to your fighters?
Yeah.
Seems like a good way to pull value out of the, so it doesn't continue to inflate. Like it's going to help the price of the tokens used to buy and craft.
So obviously not financial advice, right? But how are you, like, I don't know, not your personal business, but like how do you think is the best way to prepare? Like, because version 3 is coming out soon, right? So what's the best way to prepare for that?
Well, even G-Host himself said that with all the releases of the body parts and their cards and their effects, there's a lot of speculation, but it's not financial advice. Everyone, or most of the community are buying, speculating on what axes might be just stock good for a battle, minus the charms and runes, because there's going to be synergy with the cards without charms and runes. These are just enhancements or buffs that you can add on. So I've bought some myself that I'm thinking not to resell, but to play with. And for its rarity.
You're kind of just like betting on what you think the cards might be. Okay.
Basically, a lot of people are doing that, but there's guilds out there that are highly competitive, and the esports scene for Axie Infinity is growing. There's a lot of rewards there for people who place top in the rankings in the ladder. So there's going to be a whole bunch of breeding that takes place to have multiple types of comps, and yeah, I wouldn't know what to tell anyone in particular now because there's so many different types of axes that could be made. Class, the card, it's just going to be, it's insane the amount of the multiplier.
Be able to predict the meta.
Right. So for example, there's a card called like Owl for the bird class, and then for the eyes there's Owl, which we never had cards for, which we will now, and then there's another card with Owl for the bird, which is like I think it's the eye, the beak. So if people are speculating that those cards would have more synergy because they share the same name, different effect, but so people are buying those types of axes with have the same name, like Nutcracker for the beast. They have a tail, the eyes, and the mouth, right? So if one beast has 3 Nutcrackers, what's the synergy between all 3? Is there added damage? And that is the case,
which there was before, right? Yeah, exactly. Right. With the 2, right? Okay.
So it's things like that. And just moving on here to finish up the Twitter post that they had. In parallel, we will also be actively working towards making necessary tweaks to the game so that it can be approved and listed in the Android and the Apple stores. So this was always the thing they were going for. And with V3, which was their original goal, right? With all this new money, they were able to make it look and, I guess, become what it is today. So they were always gunning for that mass adoption type of card game. And then Origins will soft launch on with a play versus environment story mode, runes, charms, training mode, and a ranked mode. So over time, we will iterate and update it to include features such as cosmetics, upgrade parts, tournaments, PvP seasons, and roguelike game mode. So as you see, there's a new rank achieved, and then you got Bear 3. Not sure. That could just be the trophies that you get for ranking up. Axie Infinity is a community-driven ecosystem. The feedback will be key to ensuring the upgrade and improve Origin in a thoughtful and data-driven manner. So the community is highly important to the team, as there's been way more input from the community than ever before since I've been involved. So, and then some gratefulness and thankfulness from the team of the next phase. And last but not least, I'm sure, is that just 21 hours ago, literally, because I pulled it just before we started. Maybe like 22 hours ago. So there was a nice article written about Web3 gaming, and Axie Infinity is usually mentioned in most articles, and it wasn't nothing negative either. So you can catch that on their official Twitter if you wanted to read more about it. And that was pretty much it for Axie. Just everyone's getting ready for the new game to come out to play.
And do they have a date yet, or was it supposed to be the end of the month or end of the quarter? What was it?
That's it. Just end of the month.
Okay.
No official date. So
we'll have V3 out very soon. Then that's good to know.
Yeah.
I think a lot of scholars would be happy to get some kind of actual gameplay on that and see what actually happens as far as that price of SOP.
For sure. But that's it for me. Yeah, DeFi Kingdoms is also a game that I'm pretty big in, and just to touch on that, the Avalanche subnet is official for DeFi Kingdoms, and the one prior to that, which was the first subnet, was Krabata, which is a game that's being related to Pegaxi. It's being compared to Pegaxi in many ways. It's profitable, but it's a high cost to get in, like $2,500 for a crab, and you need a set of 3. It's profitable within a month, right? So similar profits to be had. The game looks sound. It's been a while. It's been around for a while, but DeFi Kingdoms is now going to have a subnet, so it lives right. It's a side chain essentially, for lack of better terms, off the main Avalanche network. So there's not going to be congestion, and then you actually have to use to sign transactions the token of the game. So that's always nice to see that there's that utility of the token.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a little reward. Oh, go ahead. What are you gonna say, Benjamin?
Well, I was gonna pivot. So go ahead.
Well, I was pivoting also, but just as a reward for people who've stayed engaged this long, because I think we're about to wrap it up here soon. But the Leo Trades, which is one of my best performing NFT buys, was his first one. He's also founder of Neo Tokyo, and that game that he's coming out with that's basically similar to Among Us. That NFT launch is going to happen, I believe, next week or the 28th, which is coming up soon either way. So I'm preparing for that, and you guys might want to pay attention to it. It's probably going to be big. Probably nothing.
Punjab brought up Solantasy, and if we checked out the demo, I've played the demo. I think it's going to be fun. It's a little bit rough right now. At least it was for me with some of the using my weapons effectively. But it does have that old kind of Nintendo era feel of a side scroller, a 2D side scroller. And the art's pretty good. Has anyone else played it?
Not yet.
Yeah, and maybe Punjab has more information than I have. I've only given it about 15 minutes in the demo. And so I don't know what the play to earn component is past it. But what I do love about it is a project that set its sight on a goal of creating a game, and they're actually getting somewhere. We've all been part of different projects where there might have been a rug, or maybe the aspirations of the developers were greater than their capabilities. But Solantasy seems to be coming along.
There's so much of that in the space, man, Joe, that the terms for it are even developing. So you have a rug pull, which is when they just basically straight up rob you. And then they got what people are calling a slow rug now, where it's kind of like you said, where either they didn't have the technical, intellectual capacity to complete their goals, or they just hit a wall and just slowly but surely the project fails, and so that's a common enough thing now that people are calling it a slow rug.
Yeah. Well, I think that happens in a lot of projects, right? That happens in video games where the developers are all hyped about the game and they promise these updates for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden the updates don't start happening and the developers disappear and move on to another project. So that's the weird thing about this is the timing is you need to be ahead of it so you can get out if you've invested a lot of money.
Well, VCs have dealt with this for generations, right? It's just now all of a sudden the public has become the VC. So now people who are not investors by trade are having to deal with these things for the first time, and learn how to deal with them for the first time.
Yeah.
Well, what's also interesting too, the difference between the public crowdfunding versus traditional VC or angel investors, is that at least in that world there is some accountability. Here, there's not. You can't you can ask, but it doesn't mean anyone's going to tell you what's up.
Yeah, we've experienced that.
Just the Discord just dies one day, right? Or over the course of a couple of months, just people just stop talking.
Yeah, there's one project that was really into that's basically the community's trying to pick up the assets in the project and do something with it. But it's kind of sad because you see these great ideas and you think about what could be, and then all of a sudden there you are with nothing but a cheap NFT on your hand and a bunch of people who are either pissed or want to do something different.
Yep.
I like how you brought up like rescuing projects, right? So that joke I just made about probably nothing, which is another term we just use a lot in the NFT Web3 space to kind of be sarcastic, like, you know, it's probably something, but we're saying probably nothing. Like, you might want to take a look at it, right?
Mhm.
And so there was an NFT project that came out that was called Probably Nothing. And it was just basically a JPEG that said probably nothing on it with different colors, right? And it was basically a slow rug. Well, one of the guys in the space that's well respected, I think he's a Bored Ape. I think he's probably in Neo Tokyo as well, probably a Kong as well. He's probably all in the mix with that stuff. But he basically bought the project. And so now probably nothing might actually become something, you know. So you're going to see a lot of that as well. Like if you have something that you just really like it and you hold on to it, it might, you know, revive one day. That's one of the interesting things that's possible because these things are on the blockchain and immutable to a certain extent. They're not going anywhere. So if you can get enough control over a project, you might be able to revive it. So that's interesting as well.
Yeah.
These things aren't going to die. They're not going to disappear.
I have a project that's looking to do that right now. And the other interesting part of it, just as things can happen, is they're actually looking to remint, but also to move it from Sol to ETH.
What was the justification for that?
Just wanting to shrink down to a tighter community and be a part of the ETH NFT space rather than the Solana space. Just a choice they were looking to make to just kind of really solidify a new birth of this community. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll let you know how it goes. Probably not.
Probably nothing.
Probably nothing. All right, everybody. Well, that is another episode in the books for the Metaverse Nomads podcast. We're here every week on Sundays, same time, same place. We're so glad to have you. Please like and subscribe. We'll be here talking about everything that's exciting to us and hopefully exciting to you as well. But until that time, we'll see you then. We'll see you until that time. I lost the outro. Anyhow, goodbye, everyone.
Probably nothing.
Probably nothing.
This is the thumbnail.
Are you ready for the next evolution in gaming? Blockchain games are here. Why just play when you can play to earn? Enter the Star Atlas Metaverse with Rome. Star Atlas is a grand strategy game of space exploration, territorial conquest, political domination, and so much more. Rome is a premier guild of the ONI Faction within Star Atlas. Rome is here to play and to earn. Want to take part in the action? Rome is accepting new citizens. Join the Rome Guild on Discord to learn more at gorome.io.